When I was a couple weeks short of my 70th birthday, I started thinking about my mother's mother, who lived to be 100, and her mother, who lived to be 102, and my father, who lived to be 90, longer than anyone we had ever heard of in his family. I began to think that maybe our generation could be the first to routinely live to be 100. When I talked about this at family dinner one night, my granddaughter, who was 5, said,
"What are you going to do for the next 30 years, Grandpa?"
Hello, I'm Dr. Janet Price.
And I'm Gregg Kaloust. And we are Oldish. And this is our podcast, Oldish.
If you're oldish or know someone who is, please join us every week for conversations amongst ourselves
And our special guests
about what it means to be oldish in the 21st century.
If you ever wonder whether you're getting old, you're oldish. What are you going to do for the next 30?
Hi, I'm Greg, and I'm oldish.
Hi, I'm Janet, and I'm oldish. Hi, Greg.
Hi, Janet. How are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. I was thinking about how our families and loved ones can encourage our oldishness, can encourage us to either expand or try new things for various reasons, often not in their minds thinking, I want to encourage my parent or grandparent to be more active or more, but that it just comes out. So I thought that might be fun to talk about today. What do you think?
Well, that sounds good. I actually have some fairly recent personal examples, and so that gives us some place to start with. Part of being oldish is pretty much everybody that's oldish has family and friends. How do
Hopefully.
our families and friends support us in our oldishness as opposed to take care of us in our oldness?
What are some things that have happened?
A couple times this summer, people that I'm close to actually called my bluff on some active sporting things that I've been talking about for a while. The first and the most obvious one of which was 2 of my grandsons have studied karate. One is still actively studying it. He's been doing it for 6 years now, and he's got his colored belts. I think he's a purple belt, green belt, something like that. And one of my other grandsons studied it for a couple of years, and then because of COVID, the dojo where he was closed, and he didn't get powered through the remote karate class thing like my other grandson did. My granddaughter in California has been studying karate or taking classes for a couple of years now, and her mother has started taking karate classes. Her mother is my youngest daughter, and I have gone with them many times, in particular with my grandson in Vermont. I fairly often help out the family by driving him to his late afternoon, early evening karate class because his parents both work and they'll get him there. But one of the issues that we've commented on before and certainly see all the time is the kids are so busy, the parents are exhausted, just running them around all over the place. And so one of the things that I do as grandpa is drive the kids places where they have to get to. So I've taken my grandson to his dojo, I don't know, probably 30, 40 times over the last 6 years, maybe even more than that. I don't know. But to the extent that the senseis and the senpeis greet me by name when I get there. And when I'm in California, if there's a karate class, I'll go and I stand outside in the street and look. It's a little weird, but I stand on the street looking in through the plate glass window at the karate class. And I'm hoping that my granddaughter has told the people in there that I'm her grandfather, but who knows? I haven't been arrested yet, so that's probably a good thing. But one of the things that comes up is that every time I do this, I say, this karate stuff looks really good. I should do that. I should start taking karate classes. And I've been saying that fairly consistently for several years now, without actually doing anything about it, because it's an easy thing to say. It's way easier to say I should take karate classes than it is to break a concrete block with your head. Way easier. But I said it over and over again. And on Father's Day this summer, I was talking with my daughter in California, and she was talking about her karate class and getting a new belt and so on. And I said it again. I said, every time I go to one of these karate classes, I feel like I ought to be doing that too. And they all say, yeah, yeah. But the next day she called me up and said that after we got off the phone, she had called her sisters and they had decided that they would get me a summer trial membership at the dojo in Vermont, where my grandson takes classes. And they'd already paid for it. So I had to do it. They called my bluff. It was really annoying. They called my bluff on this thing that I've been saying, I say all kinds of stupid stuff all day long. And I'd be in big trouble if people called me on it every time. But anyway, they called me on this one. As you know, I'm very tall and not skinny. People that study karate wear the loose pants and the loose top. It's called a gi. And I figured I better go in a gi because I've never seen anybody there in shorts and a T-shirt. And I looked online, but I couldn't find anything that looked like it was going to fit. So I got in touch with the dojo and they said, oh, we have one for you. That's included in the summer trial. So I was, oh, crap. I don't have that way to duck out of it. So I went and I picked it up and I took 7 classes over the summer. And I discovered that there are certain parts of being oldishness in which old is in capital letters. I found out I can't do push-ups. They start off every class with stretching and calisthenics and stretches that I look at them and I say, I can't do that. But I didn't know I didn't remember that I couldn't do push-ups. One of the teachers is all about push-ups. It's always like, okay, hit your partner 5 times and then do 10 push-ups each. And I can't do 10 push-ups. So, but he's all about the push-ups and he looks like he's all about the push-ups. I'll tell you that. At the beginning of the class, everybody kneels down and sits on their heels and they actually sit down with their butts on their heels. I can't do that. I'm not flexible enough to do that. And I'm hurting at this point. That's only 3 minutes into the class. So the oldishness is coming in. The same teacher also had to think, try this one. Next time you feel like you're fit, try this one. Find a partner, lay on the floor with your feet facing your partner's feet and put a cushion between your feet. Lift it back up over your head. I don't know if you know yoga, but there's a thing called a plow pose where you put your feet behind your head on the floor. Do that with the cushion, bring it back up over, and without your feet touching the floor, hand the cushion to your partner who does the same thing. No. It's actually not at all possible for this to take place. When I was younger, back in my 30s and even into my 40s, I could do that plow pose. You're laying on your back and you lift your feet up into like a shoulder stand and then just keep going. And when I was in my 30s and 40s, I used to be able to touch my knees to the floor next to my ears. That's how flexible I was. I couldn't get straight up. It was hard. And so I'd go up 3 inches and then hand the cushion back to my partner who went zoop, zoop. And so I'm feeling pretty old. That's the warm-up part. But the response of the people in the class to having somebody oldish there everybody's been kind. The sensei said to me over the years, we'd have a number of parents sign up to take classes because their kids got into it. But very few, if any, grandparents have signed up to take classes because their kids are into it. And I'm like 30 years older than the next oldest person in the class, I'm pretty sure. So that feels kind of oldish, and that was tricked into it. Not tricked into it, but my kids call my bluff is the way that I look at it. So they're supporting me in my oldishness. So that's my story. What do you got?
So exciting to think about how our friends and loved ones, our families and loved ones and friends can encourage us in our oldishness to try new things, to go beyond what we might have chosen to do on our own. This is such a great example of it. And I'm thinking about all the things that come from that, like you recognizing or experiencing your physical limits that are different from when you were 30 years ago, 40 years ago, and what a foundational experience that is of aging. And what do we do with that? It's the whole idea of that could be so discouraging that you can't get your body straight up, let alone your feet over your head, let alone your knees over your head. That could feel so discouraging and disheartening and kind of more old than oldish. And we can also look at it as, okay, that this is aging, and how exciting that my family got me into this and pushed me forward to actually try out karate, and what a gift it was. So I feel like I think probably only oldish people listen to this podcast, but I think it's a message for both our family members who are also oldish and friends, but also our children and other younger people in our lives, if we have any, that they are giving us a gift by doing some of that also.
One of the things that I discovered in that karate class, which is the first real athletic endeavor that I've undertaken since becoming oldish. I've been playing pickleball, but everybody's oldish that plays pickleball where I play. So that's not a big deal. And nobody says, okay, before you play pickleball, you got to put your feet on the court behind your head. Most people don't even stretch before they start playing. They just say, okay, let's go. One of the things that I discovered was that I can be aware of my physical limitations relative to what it used to be, but still do it and do what I can. I took a yoga class several years ago, and the teacher just said, do what you can do. And if you keep on doing it, perhaps gradually you'll be able to do more. But, if it's there, do it. If it isn't, don't do it. And also my ego isn't in it so much. So when I couldn't do that, the thing with the cushion over my head, and this is an even more basic example of doing a push-up, I can't do push-ups. Rather than get upset or flustered or humiliated, oldishness is humbling. And it's like, yeah, that's how it is, and I'm happy to be able to do any of this. And I'm looking around and I'm not seeing 50 other old people laying on the floor trying to touch their feet behind their head. So the egolessness of aging comes in handy. One of the instructors took me aside and we were working on stances and punches. And she said, this can be really frustrating. And I said, I'm too old to be frustrated. I spent so much of my life being frustrated. It's like, I'm not doing that anymore. I'm doing what I'm doing. And if it takes me 2 months to learn how to punch, I'm never going to punch anybody. So if it takes me 2 months to learn how to throw this punch correctly, I don't care. If I never learn how to throw the punch correctly, I'm not going to ever punch anybody. I'm very happy with a white belt. I'm not competitive about this whole karate thing. I figure I already won because I'm there. I showed up. I already won. We talk about Tony Roig and CJ Johnson when we talk about pickleball a lot. And they have this expressed philosophy of, if you showed up today and you're playing pickleball, you already won. So don't sweat the score. Don't sweat whether that call was in or out. Don't worry about you missed a shot. You already won. They use an ice cream cone analogy, and which I think fits in what we're talking about here a little bit, which is, if you have an ice cream cone, don't throw it away because it doesn't have sprinkles on it. You got the ice cream cone, you won. Sprinkles is just the extra added bonus if you win the match or you touch your feet behind your head. And I feel like I won because my kids are talking to each other. That's a bonus. When I was raising my children, if you'd asked me what's my fondest wish for the future, would have been that they were friends. And so I got that. And they're talking about me behind my back, and I know that. So it's good if they're talking about behind my back, not telling stories about the stupid or annoying things that I do, but about, let's do this thing for him. I got to win. So the support of my family and my oldishness, what I saw in contrast when my grandparents showed up, and I've said before on the podcast that At one point, all four of my grandparents lived in our house. And when my grandparents showed up, it was so that my parents could take care of them, not drop them off at soccer practice. So our culture has moved a little bit, maybe, and the oldishness is raising the culture in that direction.
Yeah, I love that phrase, the support of my family in my oldishness. I think that's kind of the theme of what we're talking about today. And I want to add, from my own perspective, it sounds like you're saying that for you it's a win and there's more ego, less in your experiences, so that it's a win. I also experience at times like that sadness and sometimes fear of, okay, now I can't do that very well. What does that mean next? So I think they're almost like little losses, little individual grieving moments. I used to be able to stretch that much and I can't anymore. I used to be able to do push-ups. I can't anymore. So that kind of delicate balance, if anyone's mine does, tends to go towards either panic or sadness or fear. I can't do that anymore. What does that mean? And to be able to move through that to a place of this is a win, and that I'm able to do this at all. And all the things you were saying, that my family is supporting me in my oldishness.
Yeah, it's good. I think that means that we won. I think about something else that came up is someone gave me a basketball because I'm always talking about there's a basketball court near where I play pickleball. And one of my grandsons is getting to be very tall and is working toward being on the basketball team. And so I keep saying, if I had a basketball, I could shoot baskets, and then I could take him and shoot baskets with him and pass on some of my wisdom about how to play. I was never great, but I was a pretty good basketball player in my day. And I still remember how to do some of the things. And it was one of those things where every time I'd walk past the basketball court, I'd say, I wish I had a basketball. I just had a birthday and I was given a basketball for my birthday. And the next day I took it with me when we went to play pickleball. And after playing pickleball, we took the basketball out and I can't shoot anymore. So I'm going to take that basketball with me every time I go play pickleball, and I'll shoot at least a few baskets. And then by the time my grandson can't think of any further excuses to not go shoot baskets with me, I'll be able to make one or two. I can't shoot, but did that mean that I didn't enjoy being in the sunshine with my friend throwing a ball around? No, that was great, actually. It was quite fun.
And the anticipation of doing that with your grandson. And so I have two examples that I thought of that are ways that our family inspires us. One, that one of my children and his family live in Sweden, and that inspired me to learn Swedish. And so that's what we read, is that's a fantastic oldish activity for our brains, is to learn another language. So I'm 3 years into that process. And then just the other day, my older grandchild, my 7-year-old granddaughter, discovered the piano and discovered that she's a natural. She's really, really good at it, which was me growing up. And so when I saw the video of her, the first time she ever sat down at the piano and how she immediately figured out how to play a song on the piano, I thought, okay, I need to rediscover my own piano playing so that this is what went through my head, so that someday when she's learned enough, we can play duets together and things like that. So inadvertently, she wasn't like, hey, grandma, hey, farmor, try to learn piano so you can play with me. No, but just the fact that we have family and that they do things around us and with us. And if we're open to that inspiration in our oldishness and don't brush it away as I can't do that anymore because I'm old. I can't do that anymore because I'm this age. I can't do this anymore because I can't stretch as much. And I would say that as we wind down here, that I feel like one of the messages is for all of our listeners is to pay attention to encouraging words about things we can do at this point in our lives. whether it comes from friends or family or our grandchildren or children, but that there are messages out there that are saying, hey, you could do this. Might look a little bit different than 20 years ago, but you can do this. Try it.
You can do it. And even if it's new, you can do it. Give it a try.
Yeah.
There are very few people, I think, who, we talk about physical things a lot, but you were just talking about learning Swedish, and you can have really bad knees and learn Swedish.
Or play the piano.
Or play the piano. We talk about athletics. I do sports all the time. So that's one of the reasons why I talk about the sports kinds of things. I was talking with a friend of mine earlier today about let's learn a language together. We say, yeah, let's do that. Let's learn a language together and see how that goes. We haven't been able to decide which one yet, but I'm gonna hold out for Latin.
Okay, well, that sounds exciting. And you go, Greg. Not my first choice, but that's all right. I just want to say that you inspired me to try pickleball. So that was maybe 5 years ago or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
But when you first brought up, or more than that, when you first brought up pickleball, I'd never heard of it. And you just kept talking about your growing love and passion for it. And so thank you. So that's an example in my own life of being encouraged by a friend to try something new.
Well, good. I'm glad that happened. So on our way out here, that put in mind something that I've been wanting to say to people, which is, and you just said it, you don't have to be good at it. You certainly don't have to be good at it right away. My friend and I just qualified for the National Senior Games Pickleball Championship by placing fourth in our grouping in the State of Vermont Pickleball Championship. So we have qualified to go on to the national championships. We didn't win a game. We qualified because the top 4 teams qualified to go to the nationals. There were only 4 teams. So we qualified by showing up. Put that a note on your refrigerator. You never know. You might qualify just by showing up.
And that you've already won by showing up.
You've already won. Just by showing up, you already won. Yep. That's a better way to put it. Just by showing up, you already won.
Yes.
I like that.
Yes.
I like that.
Well, I'm rephrasing something you said earlier today, as far as what those pickleball experts say about that. Just start getting there and playing. You've already won.
Yep. That's perfect. So I'm gonna challenge you on this Swedish thing. We read a book called The Old Lady Who Broke All the Rules, which was originally written in Swedish. There are sequels to that book. Let's do a book club in Swedish. Let's read one of those books.
Okay.
Or not.
I was trying to think of something to say in Swedish, like, yeah. Yeah. I have to think of a Swedish response.
Oh, we could do that book club in Swedish.
You did make me think about maybe looking for the sequel and looking for it in Swedish and seeing how, so I'd have a general sense of the character, or even going back and reading The Little Old Lady Who Broke All the Rules and trying to read that in Swedish.
I think that'd be a good idea.
Yeah, it's a really good idea. I'm going to look for that. Well, this was a great conversation, Greg. And as always, I really enjoy just taking some time out to sit and have a conversation about being oldish.
Yes, I agree. And as always, I have learned some things, and I think we learned some things together. And we didn't really 100% know what we were going to talk about when we got started, but I think we both learned quite a bit, which is the hallmark of oldishness, is to be willing to learn from whatever comes up. And away we go. So until next time, this has been great. Thanks, Janet.
Thanks, Greg. Till next time.
Till next time. Bye, Farmore.
Bye, Papa.
That's it for now. Thanks for listening. We enjoyed our visit and hope you did too. You can leave comments or requests for topics or guests on this or other episodes at www.oldish.me. There's a link there too if you've wondered how you can help support our podcast. If you like what you heard today, please tell a friend and rate and review our podcast on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to podcasts.
That'll be on there.